We are now turning to a topic that's reshaping really every single sector and strategy. And it's really hard to have any sort of conversation without talking about it, and that is, of course, artificial intelligence. China's rapid advances in AI, we've heard a little bit about them already today, but particularly in things like generative platforms, DeepSeek and MiniMax, are being fueled by a national strategy, major investment, and a culture that embraces bold technological ambition. To lead us off in this session, we're going to hear a short presentation from Professor Liang Zheng. He is Deputy Director of the China Institute for Science and Technology Policy at Tsinghua University. He is one of the foremost experts in technology policy and in AI governance. And I'd just like to acknowledge the Asia New Zealand Foundation for bringing Professor Liang down to New Zealand. Following his presentation, Jessep, the CEO of the Asia New Zealand Foundation, will moderate this session, and she is joined by Discussant from the University of Auckland, Professor Michael Witbrock. So please welcome Professor Liang.
Thank you so much. His Excellence, Ambassador Wang, all the respectful, colleagues. So I'm so glad to be here after, 15 hours in total. So from Beijing, before that, previously 20 hours in total to Geneva. Yeah, forgive me if I say something wrong, so that's due to the jet lag. So K-Aura. Yeah, 下午好. I'm so glad to share some of our observations. So in our institute, I guess all of the colleagues here are very eager to know what happened in China and what's the potentials not only for New Zealand but also for the world. I think we have very limited time. I will not speak too much. I will give some background of what happened in China during past maybe 4 decades. As you can see, so it's now a powerhouse of science and technology. So in past 40 years, in fact, we experienced what we call 3-stage on science and technology development. From very beginning, the technology majorly absorbed from abroad, majorly from Western countries. And after that, so we do what we call the indigenous innovation. So due to, to the innovation policy portfolio, integrated the best practice from all over the world. And now we enter the new stage, what we called, we need to some breakthrough, some more fundamental research and development. So in China, it's for China, but also for the world to resolve all of these kind of challenges. So AI is just one of the achievements. I think in past several years, we can see so many of these kind of achievements. So in China, either in fundamental research as well as engineering, technology breakthroughs. Some huge systems and some emerging industry like EV. What makes this happen? So the continuously investment on research and development in past 4 decades. So more than, 10%, so annually. Now you can see all of this, statistics. But up to now, if you compare with the Western countries, especially the OECD countries, the R&D intensity in China is still lower than all of the G7 countries. So this is a stage what we are now. And one of the important, also the interesting thing is that if we see the distribution of the R&D expenditures, so in China, we can see a very interesting thing. So the major source of R&D expenditures come from industry, not from government. That's a little similar to what happened in Korea and Japan, so maybe, decades ago. So that means that we spent, a little few money on fundamental research. So due to the economic, development, the needs from the industry, that's a key, to the distribution of our R&D structures. But up to now, what we achieved, we had already fertilized, I think, a group of the high-tech, so I think the enterprises. So in these areas, so like EV, like internet, so even construction. I'm so glad to heard so this morning, so the very interesting story about the building housing sectors. So you can see in this rank, so there is, okay. So you can see there is only one state-owned enterprises. So in the right, I think it's map, that's China Construction, so Corporation. And on the right side, you can see now in the nature index, which has representatives of the, I think, basic research, so list, the Chinese, so I think the universities, such as Tsinghua and Peking University, are ranked so in the top, I think the top 10, as well as Chinese Academy of Science. That is just a background, what happened in China. I will give you a very brief background. How about AI? We all know in past several years, so due to the rising of the generative AI, especially ChatGPT, so we can see the fast moving, I think, that ever happened, so in the history. That's why we define which as a revolution. Now we entered, I think, at the stage what we defined the agent, I think, agentic AI. So I just saw the news, Altman and his team, so released the new, what they call the chat, so GPT, so agent, so last night. So maybe in the morning, so in Silicon Valley. We are now in this stage to enter from the agent to the innovator. This means that AI will not only so make things, will not only so substitute, so I think some boring works, but also could do some creative jobs, like scientific research, the drug, so I think development, this kind of things. What's the situation of China in it? So you can, oh, I'm sorry, I usually make a mistake due to jet lag. Yeah, you can see that this is a map of the distribution of generative AI patent in worldwide. So we cited so from the HAI report issued by Stanford. China now account so nearly, I think it is 60% in total in these areas. Yeah. So this is a large language models in advanced areas, what we can see. So you can see we not only have DeepSeek in it, so we have maybe more than 10 large language models. So in total, if you're compared in worldwide. And this is what I want to make a summarize. So what's the reason to lead to this kind of, I think, the achievement? So that's not the short-term, I think, reason. As you can see that we throw money on STEM education for nearly, I think, maybe decades. So there are the constant policies, so support, and the improvement of the investment, I think, on innovation in total, just as Ambassador Wang introduced. The openness to the world, so very important. Otherwise, China will not achieve this marvelous success, beneficial from all the part of the world, yeah, especially the developed countries. Yeah, I think this is age, what we call the intelligence, so transforming. You can see what happened now. So it's fast embedded of all this kind of technology in different areas from both the economy and the society. So DeepSeek, everybody are talking about DeepSeek. So what happened to DeepSeek? It's not the fundamental research breakthrough. It's a combination of existing technology, the very efficient combination of all of these kind of technologies from the engineering perspective. That's very important. This is the advantage of China. China also benefits from all of this existing research fruit, not by China himself. So I can give some examples because this is exactly the time how to apply AI in exact sectors. So here we are in New Zealand, so maybe I think agriculture. So it's a very representative areas. As we all can see that, I use 2 cases from Xinjiang. Xinjiang is the most important province who deliver our agriculture product. They adopt all this kind of, I think, autonomous, appliance. So either in the planting or some what they call the top cleaning. So I think it's very interesting. I'm not very familiar with this, but someone told me, so this is a little similar to kiwi, I think it's in New Zealand. Maybe you need to do the very similar process in these sectors. Yeah. So this is a little similar, I think, here. You have cows, so more than the people. I think I heard from my driver, so last morning. Yeah, so that this is also a heavy job and not very efficient by humankind. But now in Inner Mongolia, I heard from my colleague from ED group, so they are maybe the largest producer now for the milk powders. So they use this kind of automatic machine to treat with these things. I have a short video, but we don't have time to show. Yeah, I just want to let you know. So healthcare, yeah. Everybody, I think, need all of this healthcare service, but how to improve it through AI? So you can do many things from a diagnosis to the, I think, the efficiency on the insurance payment, the service in hospital. That's what happened in China. Now, in every hospital, you can use Alipay to get some pre-trial before you really meet your doctor. And this is a pharmacy development, as well as a service, smart service. We already use this robot, so in some shop, so no man will be there for the 24 hours, I think, service. That's not only save money for us, but also give our, I think, people more respectful life. For education, I'm from Tsinghua University. That in Tsinghua, we employed this kind of technology either in teaching or study. Give us many helps, do our many favors. And we also have the ethic, I think, regulations on how to use it, I think, trustful, confidential, and follow the ethic of the scientific research, which is a major concern. I'm also the member of the university's scientific research ethic committee. For tourism, I think it's very interesting. Yeah, we can see some very interesting employment of this kind of technology. Some are related to the virtual, I think, technology to give you very similar experiences for Dunhuang. So maybe curve. So it's an amazing place, but maybe due to the long distance between us, so you can try it. So before you really visit China, it's the same in Forbidden City. I think for New Zealand, I talked with our CEO from the airport. We can improve the efficiency to combine all of this data instead of depends on our theoretical, I think, on humankind, I think it's themselves, because the efficiency are very different. For manufacturing, so you can see this is an EV factory in Chongqing. So I think Celis, so they have the, so it's a totally automatic, I think it's a production line. So this is what we call the black, so I think it's bomb, so factory. So very efficient, so many robots were used there. That's why it leads to the cost advantages of Chinese EV producers. I just returned from Geneva. We had a very good conversation on the autonomous driving. So you can say I use the case not from China, it's Tesla. Yeah, but we have more in China, not only on passenger vehicles, but also on shuttle bus, robotaxi, and trunk. So somebody suspects that maybe in the next 3 years, I think the total autonomous driving, I think the vehicles will be 10% in total of the new sales cars. Last but not least, for government, how to improve our efficiency. yeah, we can also integrate all of this kind of technology into our existing administrative process to improve the efficiency very, I think, dramatically. So I use too much of my time. So finally, yes, we can see there is also involvement of all these guidelines. So how to use AI accountable, safety, and I think the trustworthy. So there are so many of these kind of guidelines in the world as well as in China. And now we already built what we called a modularized, multi-level, and multi-stakeholder. So I think it's enrolled governance system. So you can see from the very beginning the general guideline to some basic laws like privacy protection, and now existing very specific scenarios as autonomous driving. I cited something from the strategy of a national, I think it's the initiative of New Zealand. New Zealand gave the same concerns of all these kind of things to build a new ecosystem on innovation. At the same time, to give concerns on all of these obstacles from the government's level. I guess so we can share so many of the similarities between what China are now doing and what I think New Zealand need. So there are too many of the complementaries, I think, between New Zealand and China. Maybe China could give some practices, some experiences, and New Zealand could give the new potential scenarios how to adopt this kind of technologies and experiences. I will stop here. So comments are warmly welcome. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm impressed, Professor Liang. We're seeing the 20-second countdown. You have done a number of slides in 15 minutes. Well done, you. Good afternoon, everyone. I know this is the post-lunch slot. We've now got about 20 minutes together. We will have some questions, but please break out on Slido, put some challenging questions to us, ask us about governance, ethics, future of jobs, and so on. But let me try and start on your behalf. Professor Witbrock, thank you for joining us. Michael, if I can. Clearly, huge changes are taking place in China, absolutely transforming the nature of industry, the nature of work, and how we order ourselves. How do things look from a New Zealand vantage?
So I think from a New Zealand vantage point, it shouldn't be forgotten that we do have a serious AI capability at every level of AI research here. And the new advanced technology PRO that was just announced this morning can help us to coordinate our AI capability in a way which allows us to, we can't replicate the power of AI research of China or the United States or the European Union, but we can and we do have a capability to significantly contribute to its development and therefore be part of determining our future and the future of our fellow humanity. So I think that's very, very, very promising, and I look forward to seeing how that evolves. And I hope you'll join us in helping us to build a AI capability in New Zealand, but then to direct it into technology as well for our economic advantage and for hopefully China's economic advantage as well.
Thank you. Professor Liang, thank you for that comprehensive presentation. Can I ask you about the impact of US-China competition and whether you could see points, I mean, we see that competition wax and wane, but how it might impact the evolution and uptake of AI. Can you see a situation from your perspective where businesses could face blockages or bans depending on the tech they've adopted?
So that's really a challengeable, I think, question. So partially, I guess, so competition is, I think it's a normal situation. Especially in the age of revolution. I think for the fast mover, you want to keep your advantages I think it's natural. So the competition, the positive side is that to urge, I think, the competitor, both China and the US, to move much fast in these areas. But it will also arise some challenges. For example, the governance on extremely risks of the total, I think, the automatic, I think it operated, AI. So I guess for the industry, in my personal view is that the industry practitioners should be deeply involved into this process. So in fact, although there are competition, maybe we can read from the medias, their voice, from the different government, maybe both the governments, but on the industry level, there are many of the exchanges on practical level. For example, like our discussion in Geneva about autonomous driving. Either it's in US or in China or in New Zealand, so we don't want a different car. We want to follow the same standard. We want to make the people safe. I think that's the same consensus. So we need to enroll more substantial, I think, dialogues, exchanges among our industry practitioners. I guess that's very important.
Michael, is that what you're seeing from New Zealand? Is New Zealand plugged into those conversations, and are we, with the capability we've got, helping to shape governance and standards?
I think we are plugged into those conversations, but I think Aotearoa New Zealand also has a unique opportunity here and a unique role to play. We are an advanced economy, but we're a very small one, which means that the benefits for productivity gain by adopting AI widely and rapidly are very high for us, and the downsides in terms of population-based risks are relatively low. I know we talk a lot about them, and they are real risks, but they're lower risks in New Zealand than in a very large country like China. So we can play a role for the world in working out how to integrate AI into our culture, into our businesses, into our society for the benefit of our people and then for the benefit of the world. So I think, yes, there are risks, but there are risks which need to be faced partially by facing up to them and doing things. And New Zealand, perhaps uniquely in the world, has an opportunity to benefit from doing so early.
So just to extrapolate that a bit, so as AI becomes faster, cheaper, more accurate, we can expect some job displacement. Are you saying that it is possible to have new jobs in industry emerge at the same pace, or do you think there's going to be a period of growing pains?
I think that there will be a period of growing pains. We are entering a regime over the next 20 years, and it's difficult to know how quickly, where the primary driver of an economy will not be human labor anymore, but it will be automated productivity, and we need to work out how economics works in the face of that, and how we provide government services, how we provide for people's living, how we provide the basis for them to live fulfilling lives. I think people say that technology always triggers new jobs. That might be the case this time, but we've never had a completely general purpose technology that can do all the useful tasks before. We're not quite there with AI yet, but that's pretty clearly where we're going. New Zealand in the past has had a history of facing up to social reality and social change and doing the right thing, and doing a thing which has, at those times, actually were periods of great innovation and great growth for New Zealand culture. I think we can do this again for AI, and it's going to happen, whether we face up to it or not, right? So the sooner we face up to it, the sooner we start to work out, how does economy work? How does resource allocation work? How do people get what they need to live their lives? The better we'll do. And in that transition period, there are enormous short-term gains for the country as well by exploiting the economic benefits of those productivity gains.
Great. Professor Liang, as private companies race ahead in AI innovation, what about governments? We heard this morning the term sort of tech companies almost like becoming the apex predators. how does government keep pace, or even the role of government, if you have systems that are not only helping humans, but actually replacing so many systems and functions? I mean, this is a seismic shift, unlike anything we have known for a long, long time.
Yes, so that's a very important issue. We need to explore the new approach, I think, in this age. We all know that, so for this very so powerful system, now the industry played very important roles, so maybe move very fast, but the government couldn't keep pace with it. So that's the key challenges now we faced, either for a single country, but also in worldwide. That's why we need a new model to collaborate. We advocate this kind of governance approach, what we call the agile, I think, the governance, as well as collaborative or coordinate so governance. That's not only to safeguard this technology, but also to open the new scenarios for the development as well as the application of this technology. That's why I use this kind of cases in, so I think, at social areas like public health, transportation. All of this will not only make the business benefit, but also benefit the people, benefit the human. We also don't want to use this technology just benefit a specific group, but also to all the people. That should be universal. For example, how to share the data, our personal, I think, health data, I think, in a more broad areas. So this is a very challengeable job. But if you couldn't do that, you couldn't take full advantage of the potential of this technology, just as I showed so in that case. So that means that so the government should collaborate with the private, so I think, the actors to find how to make the balance. We should have this kind of regulations, for example, for the labor substitution. So in the short term, so we don't want it to move too fast, leave some space, and create more potentials for our employees. So I think that's first. And the second, so we can find some new scenarios, potentials to release the data maybe owned by the public sectors to serve, I think, the needs of the industry to find a new potential for their benefit. It's the same, not only in national level, but also in worldwide.
Thank you. Michael, can you reflect a little bit on security risks versus productivity gains, and whether for some companies in the room, either for IP and knowledge, and how much we share and universalize, and how they navigate that tricky zone of needing to adopt platforms and use platforms that maybe are not indigenous to us?
Right, so I think that the main path of adoption of AI in New Zealand at the moment has been sort of individual people using AI systems in their everyday jobs, or, for example, University of Auckland now has a policy that apart from exams, you can use AI systems in doing your coursework, right? So people are doing this now. And if the main AI systems are hosted in, say, the US or China or France, those are sort of the major ones, it may be a concern. Now, I think that for many purposes and for the larger companies, that concern may be a little bit overblown. But we don't have just concerns. We have regulatory requirements in New Zealand for, say, data sovereignty. So the good news is that just as the DeepSeek moment showed that with a relatively small amount of computational resource, you can run these, you can train one of these models, these big systems, with as part of your sort of sovereign identity. New Zealand can also absolutely run these large models locally. So we don't have to worry too much about data leakage outside New Zealand. There is a worry, perhaps, that something will be programmed into these models so that even if we run them, they will do something. I think that is it's more of a concern, but again, you can deal with that to some extent. For example, by running a model from Mistral in France, a model from DeepSeek in China, and a model from, say, Microsoft or OpenAI or Google simultaneously, and if they disagree or if they differ, look at it, right? So that's a simple thing that we could do. We can also fine-tune models to be more consistent with our national identity. So because we have a serious AI capability in New Zealand, we should apply that. These questions are not unanswerable, and we have the capability to answer them locally.
Great. Question here from audience. What do you think will be the greatest transformation and displacement? Manual workers or knowledge workers? And it relates to the second question about how AI is driving down the cost of knowledge. So in 3 minutes, quick answer each about, what's going to be the first to go, knowledge or manual?
So I generally cite the generative AI, so they have the potentials to replace some parts of the knowledge workers, but not in total. Just like what happened in coding areas. So architecture engineers still very rare. I guess I'm the positive observer from this as a teacher. In the history, it will, I think, it give us more potentials to improve our intelligence instead of just a substitute. That's my personal view.
So I think this depends on the how long a period you're looking at. So in the short term, Aotearoa New Zealand's main deficit is not, the main worry is not that we have too many skilled people in particular areas who are going to be displaced. It's that we don't have enough. We're often blocked by not having the skilled person here that we need to enable other skilled people to operate. So in New Zealand, AI can really be an enabler. In the medium term, because we now have these systems that are quite good at thinking, that's going to mean that we have robots which are very good at doing stuff, right? That's an inevitable consequence. So over the long term, it's difficult to predict exactly what sectors this will happen in, but the useful labor of society will be automated, right? That's just going to happen. So what do we do about that? We start preparing for that, and we work out how our society is going to operate in the face of that. So I think it's difficult to predict exactly which sectors are going to be automated, which jobs are going to be automated. There are some like call centers and so on that are being automated. But I think the more important thing to think about is not who's going to be replaced, but what things are impossible for us to do now that would be really, really good, right? Start going after those with AI, start deploying them. So there used to be something called a filing clerk, right? I really wish I had a filing clerk working for me, and now I can, right? You all can. So early on, we should concentrate on replacing jobs that don't exist anymore because they're uneconomic to do with human beings. Then work out what to do as human roles begin to be replaced in a way that's kind and looking after the people.
Great, thank you. We are 30 seconds on the clock, so I think we have attempted to do justice, a speedy conversation on this very, very big topic. I think as we heard this morning from the Prime Minister, this is about having a future-ready economy from Ambassador Wang. Pace of tech change is what we should all be watching. Andy Brown, changes unseen in a century. We're facing a tech revolution. But I like the fact that you are talking about the level of cooperation that is already happening, looking at governance and economics and ethics, but also opportunities. And that we shouldn't be scared. We have capability, we can adapt, and we're going to actually have a tremendous opportunity here to develop skills that we might not have ourselves.
Much of that collaboration with China.
So with 19 seconds, thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate your attention.
Thank you.